Welcome to Real Reviews Retro, where we take a look back at older Hollywood releases and let you know if they're worth your time, money, and patience. I'm your host, Walter Bernasiak. Question: who ruled the world in the 1990s? Answer: Michael freaking Jordan. And who are the most famous cartoons of all time? Why, the Looney Tunes, of course. Put them together and you get the most unlikely, unique, random, nostalgic, family, live-action, animated sports comedy movie ever, Space Jam. Here to discuss the highest-grossing basketball film in history is Governor State's graduate and master student, Uriah Berryhill. How you doing, Uriah?
I'm doing great. How about you?
Doing good. So, Uriah, why is Space Jam so awesome?
I think that Space Jam is so awesome because you have the greatest NBA player of all time.
Bar none.
And you have one of the funniest Looney Tune characters of all time.
In Bugs
And
Bunny.
you put those together and you get a collab Space Jam. Like, it doesn't get any better than that. You got NBA basketball and you got Looney Tunes acting crazy. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm. So what are your memories of Michael Jordan and the Bulls from the 90s? I know you were a kid during that time, and I was too, growing up in the 90s. The Bulls and Michael Jordan were it. They were the thing. They were the most popular thing around Chicago, and like all over the world. The NBA was getting extremely popular. Mm-hmm. Michael Jordan was the centerpiece of all of that. So for you, what were some of your memories of Michael Jordan growing up?
Some of my memories from Michael Jordan growing up, one, the first three-peat, I was a baby then, like a toddler. So all those stories, I mean, they were just like stories to me. I did watch them when I got older, but they were just stories. But as I got older and started to pay more attention to the NBA, I mean, Michael Jordan in my household was like, the president was on TV.
Here.
I mean, so many people would just come over our house. We would have game night, and everyone would just cramp up in our living room, and we would just watch the Bulls. We would watch Michael Jordan, and that three-peat from 96 to 98 was amazing. And then I just thought, like, I mean, Michael Jordan was a great NBA player. It doesn't get any better than him. So
absolutely, I felt the exact same way. Memories of Looney Tunes growing up. Can you give me some of those?
My memories of Looney Tunes is pretty funny. Really, growing up, every Saturday, me and my brother, we would get a big bowl of Frosted Flakes, and we would just sit in our room and watch Looney Tunes from early Saturday morning until late Saturday afternoon. And we just enjoy Looney Tunes. I enjoy the wackiness, the silliness that they bring. I love Looney Tunes. I don't think that any cartoon would ever top Looney Tunes. The Looney Tunes they have now,
yeah, there's some different takes on it, like the Looney Tunes show.
Yeah,
which is,
they're driving cars and stuff.
If they're in suburbia, it's a little different. I mean, I kind of like that show. The humor's a little bit different, but it's definitely not the classic Looney Tunes.
No,
I don't think.
Yeah, that era's gone.
Never ever going to be topped.
That's a wrap.
So, what are your memories of Space Jam as a kid? Did you see it in theaters, or did you just?
I actually did. I seen it in theaters. My memories of Space Jam. I was so excited. Like I was just so amped up for this movie because I loved Michael Jordan growing up. I mean, my father and everyone in my house, we were all top-notch Jordan fans. And me and my brother, we were crazy about the Looney Tunes. So seeing these two collab, I mean, it was unreal. Like, oh my God. And so I feel like Space Jam growing up, that's classic. It just grew up as a classic. Like, I watched Space Jam for like a month straight.
Like I did too,
I just enjoy Space Jam. It was amazing, man. Like, I love growing up on that.
There's nothing like it. So why do you think it's so unique and it's so beloved by our age group? Because when it came out, I mean, critics didn't really like it. Some of the fans of the original Looney Tunes didn't really like it, some of those older fans. But people our age who grew up in the 90s and everything love Space Jam. Right. Why do you think that's so?
I think the reason why they loved it so much was because, I mean, you have this great NBA player here. And, I mean, he brought his talent to comedy, actually. I mean, when they did this movie, I mean, you have the Looney Tunes acting crazy, acting silly, and doing everything to try to win this game. And then you have this person here who's coming into Looney Land, and he's just like actually playing these monsters like they're actual human beings. Like, he's actually giving them the game. And I think that we enjoyed that. I mean, in the 90s, basketball was basketball. It was enjoyable.
That was
we loved
sport.
it. It was so intense. It was so amped. So for him to bring his talent to comedy, to the cartoon era, I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. So, I mean, I loved it. I think people of our generation, we enjoy it because we enjoy Looney Tunes. We really grew up on that, and we grew up watching Michael Jordan. So, I mean, it didn't get any better to see him in the movie with our favorite cartoon characters. So.
Most unlikely combination ever. So, MJ's acting in Space Jam. Good or bad, Uriah?
I'm going to go and say terrible.
You guys are nuts.
At least you can admit that, right?
Yeah. Jordan's acting was not.
He's not an actor. He's a basketball
And he's not,
player.
okay, and I get that. That's fine. And I know that he was playing Michael Jordan himself, but he didn't give me any acting energy at all. It was just so.
So I was watching it back recently, like we did. When he interacted with the actual human characters, we had someone to bounce off of. He wasn't that bad.
No, it wasn't. No,
but
it wasn't that good.
It wasn't that good either. But then when he had to interact with the cartoon, so they're shooting that on like a white soundstage or something like that, I think, and he's just talking back and forth with nothing. I mean, there might be somebody reading off the lines, but he's not actually seeing, Bugs Bunny or Daffy Duck or Porky Pig there. He has
Which could
to
be very
imagine
difficult.
that.
Right.
So that's difficult for any actor to do, and especially a non-actor, an athlete. I mean, I think that it didn't turn out the best. I mean, in terms of his reactions and stuff were a little bit off, a little dull.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it didn't really affect the enjoyment of the movie, though.
No, it didn't. No, not at all, because he did his part. He played Michael Jordan. He brought basketball to something that's super funny.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I felt like the Looney Tunes really backed him up with, he's not a good actor, so let's do some comedy stuff in here. Like,
let's cover this up
because we can't wait till the basketball game starts, but people really are going to be like, oh my God, so it was cool.
Right. So we talked a little bit earlier about the NBA in the 90s. So other NBA players in this movie were Charles Barkley, Muggsy Bogues, Larry Johnson, Patrick Ewing, Larry Bird, some guy named Sean Bradley. And
I know who Sean Bradley is.
You know who he is. I mean, I think this is the only thing I've ever seen him in.
He played in NBA.
I've never seen him, I don't remember Sean Bradley at all, but I remember all the other players. But this was like the golden age of the NBA.
It was.
I mean, it's not like that today.
No.
At all.
I think that the reason why NBA was so NBA during that time is because everybody put their heart out on the court. I mean, it was so intense. You didn't see a game where nobody was so amped up and so wanting to win. And those players that you named, some of them didn't win a championship ring. Charles Barkley never won a ring.
That's because
due to Michael Jordan. So I mean that nowadays the game is no longer like that. I think it's so many NBA players are caught up in themselves and their image and their social media and in the money that you just lose that love as a kid. Like Michael Jordan, he loved baseball, but then he ended up loving basketball, and he just was so diehard of a fan that, I mean, I feel like it could care less to how much money Jordan made. I feel like he just really loved
making enough
basketball.
Off endorsement deals.
Because the Bulls really wasn't paying him. So, I mean, that's somebody who loved basketball. That was the love of the game. And that's out of there now. It's not
the same. I absolutely agree. So Bill Murray popped up in this movie.
Yeah, hilarious.
Pretty random. What do you think of Bill Murray?
I think that Bill Murray in Space Jam, I loved it actually.
Because I'm white, isn't it?
Bill Murray is hilarious.
He was really funny. You could
tell. And he didn't have a big part in the film, but the part that he did had, I mean, it's the Looney Tunes. So I think he's a diehard Looney Tunes fan.
Probably.
I think he's a diehard NBA fan, and when he heard about Michael Jordan collabing with them, he's like, put me in this movie.
Right. Because he's a big Chicago guy, so that kind of made sense probably to be in there. So it seems like a lot of his lines were a little like ad-lib probably. I'm going this way, I'm going left, I'm going left.
Don't ever trust your thing.
Probably so. I don't think. I think it was just Bill Murray just acting like it was just him just being himself.
Right, because Larry's not white.
Larry's clear.
Wayne Knight played Stan, the creepy little assistant to Michael Jordan. He's better known as Newman from Seinfeld, but in this movie, I think he worked out pretty well too, and there's a lot of stuff to bounce off of Michael Jordan, and their tandem, I think, was at least funny.
Yeah, I think that he was definitely necessary. He was that creepy fan who's like, oh my God, I'm so obsessed with Michael Jordan, and he's like, Mike, you want me to get you a Big Mac before the game?
Get your Hanes on, lace up your Nikes, grab your Wheaties and your Gatorade, and we'll pick up a Big Mac on the way to the ballpark.
I followed your whole career, and I just think you're the greatest athlete that's ever lived.
I am here to personally guarantee that no one will ever bother you.
Yeah.
Like, he's so obsessed with Michael, and it's just, I feel like that's funny. I feel like if I was in his shoes, I probably would have did the same thing, because this is Michael Jordan, and like, oh my God, I can't believe I have this job. So it was great. I think he brought, and that's the thing, I think he brought the comedy for people who's not so into Looney Tunes, like him and Bill Murray. They brought that comedy for people who's like, okay, I'm over this cartoon stuff, and they still had realistically funnies.
So earlier this year, Warner Brothers was announcing that they might be making a sequel to Space Jam, Space Jam 2, and it possibly could possibly star LeBron James.
You guys making a big mistake.
I don't think I want to see LeBron in any film, honestly. I don't want to see LeBron act. I don't want to see him do it. Huh? No, I think that LeBron should stick right to what he's doing and playing basketball. And I think that they should not. That would ruin Space Jam for me. That would just absolutely ruin it because this is a classic for like our decade. This is a classic. This is something that people should watch who have kids nowadays who hasn't seen it.
Right.
And to do a sequel, that's just going to make it terrible.
Why is LeBron so hated where Jordan is so beloved?
I think it really has to do to the public image, to be honest, because Jordan had this humble, I love the game public image.
Right.
And LeBron has this, I'm a god and I'm arrogant in the NBA type of image. And their personal lives, I think, is pretty similar because they're both rude and they really don't care about anybody.
Definitely a trash talker. Just, it never got picked up by his
of course
image.
not. And I feel like, Jordan covered that up with his public image. He did a great job at covering it up.
Yeah,
and LeBron is just like, I don't care, I'm LeBron. I do what I want.
You know
what I'm saying? So that just gets people like, I don't like him. He's too arrogant.
Maybe if they made the Space Jam sequel and he was a bad guy, maybe that would,
on the Monstars.
Yeah, he would be on the Monstars. Maybe that would work.
Right.
So final thoughts for Space Jam, Uriah?
My final thoughts on Space Jam is I think that Space Jam is made for everyone. It's not just made for adults or teenagers or kids. It's made for everyone. Kids of all ages, adults, anybody will love Space Jam. You have NBA basketball, the greatest player, and you have these Looney Tunes wacky, crazy characters. You put them both together and you get this. He brought basketball to cartoon. Like, he was really playing. To me, he was actually playing the game of basketball, and it was fun and it was exciting and it kept you like just, oh my God, I want to see what they're going to do next. Like, what crazy thing the Looney Tunes character is going to do, and what is Mike going to do to try to win this game? Like,
it's still a lot of fun to look back on. It's a product of the 90s, but it's fun to look back on, seeing Michael Jordan in his prime and everything, and the Looney Tunes. You can't not laugh at the Looney Tunes.
You cannot.
So, I think kids would really like this. Even now, like, show it to kids.
Yeah, and some kids probably haven't even heard of this or even seen it, but I feel like this is a movie that should be. Yeah, I love it. I still love it, and I'm an adult. So
I would be quoting the lines, when we watched it. So a couple lightning round questions. You ready?
Yep.
Favorite Looney Tune?
Favorite Looney Tune? It have to be Daffy Duck.
Daffy Duck.
Daffy Duck. He's crazy. I love Daffy Duck. He's so silly. Like, all of them are silly, but Daffy Duck takes silliness to a whole nother level. Like, he's gonna act super crazy. So I'm always a Bugs fan, but who isn't a Bugs fan?
Right. I love Bugs too.
I'm gonna say Daffy Duck.
All right. So besides Jordan, give me your favorite Bull.
My favorite Bull, Steve Kerr.
Steve Kerr.
Steve Kerr.
I love Steve Kerr.
I love Steve Kerr. When it counted, Steve knocked it down.
He got those threes.
He did.
He's a great shooter.
He's a perfect shooter.
He was. All right, well, we're going to wrap things up. I'd like to thank Uriah Berryhill for talking with us today about Michael Jordan's thematic debut. Look out for more real reviews coming soon. Until then, remember, if it's not reviewed here, it just isn't real. I'm Walter Banasiak. This has been Uriah Berryhill, and we will see you at the movies.
Let's go, Bulls!